we're all set. Thanks, Franklin.
Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you joined us for the spotlight session of the Vision to Action series, where we will shine a bright light on some of the work that leaders are doing across our region to provide the deep support and connections that will improve lives. This session is part of a bigger conference series. So welcome back. If you attended the first professional development session yesterday on growing your influence as you grow your wealth, we hope you'll attend tomorrow's professional development sessions as well. So together, these sessions are part of the Vision to Action series, a leadership experience to develop your vision and your action plan for making a huge impact in our region. We know you are already raising your hand and taking action through advancing your company's corporate social responsibility goals, through running programs and community projects, or just taking the time to understand the issues of the region and the real rich history of the movements that have really come before you. So, and the truth is, you are making change in powerful ways every single day. By participating in Vision in Action, you are getting the tools to take the next steps in your journey. And if you aren't already a member of Emerging Leaders United, we hope you will be inspired to join. Emerging Leaders United is our network of leaders who work to really make positive change happen every single day. Each member donates at least $260 annually. That's only $10 a paycheck. And this act of philanthropy means that you've joined this incredible network. Maybe you've joined them when they recently volunteered with City of Refuge or attended the recent panel that they designed to address the challenges around the Great Resignation, or heard their stories through the Philanthropy 101 series. So as a team, they create the programs that are most important and meaningful to them, and they embrace difficult conversations around our most pressing, most challenging issues. So this group is led by two women with deep commitment and passion for making a long-term impact in their professional lives and in their respective roles throughout the communities they serve. Kelly Chase is the Director of Alumni Relations at the University of Baltimore, where she leads strategic planning and engagement opportunities for the Office of Institutional Advancement. She translates her expertise with UB alumni and volunteers, community outreach and philanthropy into her role as the chair, that's right, the chair of Emerging Leaders United, where together with her co-chair, she has re-envisioned and sort of reinvigorated the impact that emerging professionals make at the United Way of Central Maryland. Her co-chair, Ashley Marshall, also brings deep experience through her role as Associate Director of Development at the Johns Hopkins Kimmel Cancer Center, where she supports a variety of programs and faculty in grateful patient fundraising and builds, and we're grateful for this, relationships with internal and external community partners. Also, Ashley is a project lead in the Building the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Roadmap and providing accountability for the Fund for Johns Hopkins Medicine. So Ashley and Kelly are very intentional in their leadership role. So together they have brought their creative energies and juices and connections and thought leadership and moxie to the table as we reimagine what the EOU conference could be. Now with that, I will now turn it over to them to share their vision.
All right, hello everybody. Thank you, Franklin, for the kind introduction. I want to welcome you all to our Vision to Action Spotlight session. So as Franklin mentioned, I'm Ashley Marshall, and I've been honored to take on the role as co-chair with Kelly Chase this year. I have been working with United Way for the past decade, as long as I've been with Hopkins and as long as I've been working in Baltimore. Beyond the pandemic, this year was particularly challenging for me. I had 3 major full-time roles. I became a new mom. I am a full-time professional and a full-time board member with United Way. And I was the crazy person that said yes to this leadership position at 9 months pregnant. You know, I technically finished my term with United Way, but wanted to continue to move forward. And I said yes because I really believed in the partnership that Kelly and I could bring to the group. I believe we share similar values and visions, and we really wanted to cultivate a stronger culture of equity, of innovation, and of community building. And one of the things that came out of Kelly and I's years of collaborative conversations, our strong partnership with each other, the leadership that we have with United Way, and a really motivated ELU Executive Council, our board, is a new approach to something ELU has been doing for a very long time. We wanted to shake things up a bit with our traditional professional development conference. And that's what Vision to Action is. We wanted this to be an experience. We wanted to create a space where our peers could apply newly learned skills. It would be something that would benefit communities and not just the individual. We wanted an event that would take our motivated group of emerging young professionals and transition them to actionable leaders and prominent philanthropists. We hope you gain the insight and skills to understand our community, implement change, and really make a greater impact. Lastly, at tonight's spotlight session, we hope you gain an awareness on some local leaders and organizations that are really doing wonderful work in the community to achieve equity. I also would love to acknowledge key partners in developing this: Patty, Jamie Clark, Noah Chang, Ashley Johnson, and ELU Council for their collaboration, time, and effort in bringing this vision to fruition. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic over to Kelly to talk more about the power of ELU and how to get involved.
Thank you, Ashley. I couldn't have said it better myself. This reimagining this conference, if there really is no other experience like it in our region. I posted about that on social media this week, and I really meant it when I was thinking about it. I was like, there really is nothing like what we are doing in the greater Maryland region. And as part, planning this conference and the activities that are to follow is one of the many privileges that we have as volunteers with Emerging Leaders and United Way. I truly believe that this is what it looks like when we have young leaders who are empowered, who can amplify our impact. We rally around the causes that we care about, we advocate for those who need help, and we uplift one another with our own leadership journeys. I often say this, and I mean it, that it's the people that make emerging leaders an extraordinary experience. I've gained lifelong friends here. I'm getting to know more people every day. These are people who inspire, who help me find my voice, and people who help me to be my personal best. I like to say that these are people who can illuminate and create a true spirit of community. So for those of you who are new, I'd like to welcome you to our ELU family. If you'd like to know more about us, there's more information in the chat. And if not, I know Patty or Katie will put that in the chat for you. But in the meantime, I'd like for all of us to just take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know if you're a new member, if you're a current member. And I'd like to encourage everyone to feel free to continue to be active in the discussion tonight through the chat. Franklin, you can take it away.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you so much, Ashley. On behalf of the United Way of Central Maryland, I just want to thank you for everything you've done and the legacy you've already established. The hard work that you put in this year will certainly pay off in big ways in the years to come, and we are really, really grateful to you. And I'm thrilled to introduce everyone to our moderator for the session. We're so thrilled that Jennifer Clark, the Deputy Director of Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship with Baltimore Core. I love that title. She has joined us tonight. Jennifer is graciously stepping in for Karen McFarland, who is under the weather, and we're certainly wishing her well. However, we know that we are in really good hands with Jennifer. She is a good friend to Emerging Leaders United, and we're grateful for that. In fact, she presented at our most recent in-person ELU conference back in 2019. Seems like an eternity ago, but she presented in a session about social entrepreneurship. Baltimore Core creates equitable change in the system that we live in. They really connect the people to opportunities that can support their livelihood and really help make for a positive difference in their community. And so we share so much actually in common with their vision. So through Jennifer's work with Baltimore Core, she really works to advance social innovation. One program I'd like to highlight the Elevation Awards. It provides funding and tailored support to people of color who are Baltimore City residents that are piloting really novel, creative approaches to strengthen Baltimore communities. So Jennifer brings sort of a wealth of expertise to this whole conversation, and I'm excited to hear what everyone has to share tonight. So Jennifer, I will now turn over the mic to you.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we'll have a conversation to spotlight some of the brilliant work that our panelists are doing to make lives better, to change systems, and to build long-term solutions. As we get started, this will be a conversation amongst us. So I want you all to be involved as well. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I will voice them over for our panelists. I'll ask some questions, but our goal is to get to know each other and to learn more about how you turned your individual visions into collective actions. Okay, so I will go ahead and get started. I will ask the first question, but in asking the first question, I want you all to take some time to introduce yourselves and introduce the work that you are doing. So the first question for you all is, could you tell us about the moment when you knew you needed to take action? And I will start with Miss Araba.
Hi, I'm Araba Mays, and I'm a radical street librarian. The moment I knew I needed to take action was one day I was reading out on my front stoop to my nieces on East Eager Street in Baltimore, and other children from the neighborhood started gathering around, and I was like, do you guys want to join us in this story? And they were like, yes. And I read like an impromptu story time to them. And then the next day when it was over, they were like, are we going to do that again, Miss Mays? When are we going to do that again? And it became a regular thing, street corner story times, just in that local, really small area. They started knocking on my door, asking me for books, and I realized that they didn't have any books at home. So without me giving them books and reading to them, that was their opportunity, especially in the summer, to have access to books. So that inspired me to become a librarian and start working in libraries. But when I was working in libraries, I realized that those same kids from my communities weren't coming in. I wasn't able to serve my community within the walls of the library. And that's really motivated me to start my project, which is increasing book access in Baltimore's book deserts by placing free public bookshelves and free book vending machines in the community, and developing programming around it in high traffic areas like everyday spaces like grocery stores, laundromats, barbershops, where people already are.
Wow, that's awesome. Really appreciate that work, especially as a former educator. I completely understand the importance of literacy. I'm gonna pass it over to Evie. And same question.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I'm Evie Yost. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I'm a white, trans, and non-binary attorney and 2020 OSI Baltimore Community Fellow, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Queer Crisis Response Unit. CREW is a community care network by and for queer and trans people in Baltimore City. Our network offers peer support and resource connection for LGBTQIA people in crisis. And our Queer Joy team brings neighbors together for nourishing, connective, in-person and online social gatherings. As a recipient of a grant from the United Way Changemaker Challenge, we've begun distributing emergency microgrants to trans and non-binary people in crisis in Baltimore. We've been able to put money directly into the hands of our neighbors in need to keep them stably housed and ensure that they're able to meet their basic needs, including access to mental health care. We've also been able to launch our first of hopefully many community safety training series to further our effort to bring neighbors together, empower community members with crisis response skills, and reduce the presence and impact of police in our neighborhoods. The trainings are free for queer and trans folks in Baltimore City and open to allies and service providers supporting our community so that we can all get skilled up together. As a lawyer working with survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, and as a survivor myself, I know firsthand that the systems in place that we're told are here to protect us aren't actually survivor-centered, especially if you're not a white cis woman. For queer and trans people, particularly queer and trans people of color, disabled folks, people engaged in underground or street economies for their survival, excuse me, seeking support from the state or medical or mental health care systems after experiencing violence often leads to more harm than the help that they're seeking. What's really been highlighted for me by the pandemic is just how dependent our survival is on one another, on our neighbors, and our communities. Specifically for folks like my clients who've been harmed when seeking help, learning how to be in community and trusting and interdependent relationships with one another to be radically vulnerable, asking for and receiving care isn't always easy. So learning how to be in relationship, rebuilding trust after trauma takes work and compassion for ourselves and one another. The members of our network really truly believe that by turning to our neighbors when we need help, we're building the future we dream of, one relationship at a time. So I don't really have an answer to this one moment where I knew I needed to take action. It feels more just like a culmination of things brought me to this. And I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that let me be doing this work because it feels so nourishing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And thank you for the work that you're doing. I will pass it to Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you everyone for having me here this evening. And that going after that one, that's a little tough one. My name is Jonathan Moore. I'm the founder and CEO of Rowdy Orbit, and what we focus on is bridging or eradicating the digital divide with another number of GAT networks and ISPs here in Baltimore City and around the country. We specifically work heavily in South Baltimore, as well as parts of Sandtown and Penn North. The one moment was a culmination of several moments. It was before this, we were training people with criminal backgrounds to learn code to become entry-level developers in the tech ecosystem. Once we saw that a lot of individuals weren't getting interviews, we said, okay, well then, how do we do this in a way where a community can hire their own? And we can make this more place-based economics and making sure that people can work where they live. And it was pre-pandemic, and when the pandemic hit, the digital divide became this glaring light in communities, under-resourced and underserved communities. So it was a combination of a number of things. And working with the Internet Society down in DC, we actually took a trip up to New York to learn about this thing called a mesh network. We spent the weekend working on a mesh network to see exactly how it was done. And I was kind of like, oh, well, we can do this. It's no longer theoretical. We actually can make this happen. And we actually got our first start over at New Song Community Learning Center over in Sandtown, Winchester, where the principal was like, we want to put up a free Wi-Fi hotspot. And we're like, oh, okay, we know how to do that. And it became an opportunity. So it became a lot of theoretical thinking, a lot of hypothesis with an opportunity. And so we bridged that together because we were training, youth from St. Francis Learning Center or Neighborhood Center up in Reservoir Hill to learn about Wi-Fi pre-pandemic. So we had a labor pool that knew what they were doing, and it became this great opportunity. And we just went into action because we had an opportunity.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you as well and the work that you are doing. Lastly, we have Elijah.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, it's evening. Good evening, everybody. My name is Elijah Miles, founder and leader of Tendea Family. And as everyone else said, that, when trying to think about a moment, it's a lot of moments in your life that lead you to the work that you're doing. But I would highlight one critical moment in my life. And it was after the Freddie Gray uprising, or the Freddie Gray riots, as other people call it. And because, in Baltimore City, a lot of organizations were created after that moment. And we were one of those organizations, but we were created basically because of a different reason. What we saw in that moment was CNN, MSNBC, all of these cameras come to Baltimore City, and we saw all of these civil rights leaders from around the country come to Baltimore City in Penn North or Sandtown and Winchester. And people were making promises, people were doing analysis, people were doing studies about what they would do about Baltimore City, about West Baltimore, and just all the things that's happening in general. But after the cameras left, after the media moment was done, what we saw from our perspective was that the people that's not just in West Baltimore, but the people all over Baltimore City were still suffering and waiting for somebody to come and change the community. And so we decided that when I was still at Morgan at this time, still a college student, we decided that as me being a resident of Baltimore City, born and raised in a neighborhood called Down the Hill, McElwee Park, we decided we had to create an organization that was not a 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the hood type of organization, but an organization that was grounded within the neighborhoods that we serve and that we live there. And so that's how Tendea Family got its start. And the members of Tendea Family, they were dedicated people that were willing to do just that. So every member of Tendea Family agrees to live in Baltimore City, agrees to live in the so-called hood that we serve, which is right now McElwee Park. Every member of Tendea Family has doesn't use alcohol or use drugs and different things like that, because we wanted to be the best role models that we could be, not just be telling people that, yeah, you need to stop selling drugs, but we buy the same drugs that they sell. And just different things like that. But programmatically, what it turned into was we began to do community cleanups. And then as we were doing those community cleanups weekly, we enhanced those community cleanups where now we have a youth internship program where we hire 15 youth, where we have hired 15 youth that live in the McElwee Park, East Baltimore community, and pay them $50 to come out and not just clean up the community, but learn how to create solutions to the problem that they see within their neighborhood. We run Man to Man, which is a forum for Black men to come together, Black males to come together, talk about the issues that we deal with as Black males, but also figure out solutions and how we can make a greater impact on our community. And we have many other programs. But what I would say is the critical thing about Tendea is that Tendea is like a response team, is that we want to change the community by being a part of inside the community, dedicated to the community day in and day out. So we've helped a lot of individuals with job placement, with rehab, with connections to different opportunities, with rent assistance, because we're a part of the community. And we actually want to operate, and we do operate as an organization that responds to the issues that's happening in the neighborhood at the moment that they're happening. We just did a rally in East Baltimore after the assault. It was an assault rifle that was shot 60 times in East Baltimore. And one brother was killed and 4 other people, I believe, injured. And so we did a rally in East Baltimore to bring the organizations in East Baltimore, McElwee Park together to respond to that. But that's how we operate. We operate as a first responder team in the neighborhood that represents the neighborhood and is grounded in the neighborhood and dedicated to staying within the neighborhood and trying to solve those issues, not from Towson or from the county that we go out, do our 9 to 5, but day in and day out, 24/7, 365.
Thank you, sir. So it sounds like all of you all have all seen some of the ills that have happened in your community. And so who better to make those changes than people that are like in it every day. So I'm really grateful for all of the work that you all are doing. My next question is, because I know a little bit about social entrepreneurship, I'm willing to guess that you all are probably teams of one. And if not, then maybe you have one other person to volunteer with or that helps you out. So could you give us a little bit about your day to day? And then I would like to hear about self-care, because that is super important in this work that you're doing in order to recharge and be able to do it again. I won't select anybody. I will just, whoever feels it in their spirit to speak first, go ahead.
I'll start. Um, we have a team of individuals, which is great. And so what it does, it allows me to kind of just it forces me to step back because there are times that I get in the way. And I'll ask the team, "Do you need my help?" There's like, "No," because we've been working together so closely together. If you jump in, you'll disrupt the chemistry. And then I find myself going just to get water and just handling more of the administrative stuff, and allowing them to just be awesome, um, and just getting the feedback from community because community just loves them and it makes them feel good because these are young Black men from disadvantaged or just thrown away communities that are completely overlooked, who've been completely written off, where the community just embraces them, and it gives them all the confidence in the world. And it starts to help them to understand that I matter and what I do is important, but I also have a voice and I have something to say. And so we've accidentally come into this shift because by me stepping away, it's allowed them to interact with the community. And there are times that we have conversations where I give them the language so they can speak for themselves and advocate for themselves, but also advocate for the work that we do and to be looked at as assets, not just deficit narratives. And when it comes down to self-care, I had to back in to self-care. It's I was hospitalized for severe depression and attempted suicide, a number of years ago, because I did not know about this thing called self-care. When you don't know about this thing called self-care, when your cup is empty and you're still doing this work, and you've got nothing to give, then all these other things come into your mind. And so, after going through my process and my journey, I use my journey as a point of vulnerability with the team to have these discussions with them. So they understand that if not everything that's happening with my body, my mind, and my environment is okay, but I have someone that I can talk to on a personal level. I have someone that I can go to get help, and we give resources for them. But what I've learned to do was just there to say no, you know, as a point of self care, but also when I get to a point, I slow down and I realize that I should slow down. And I've learned to take time off and not pick up a device, not pick up a phone, not pick up a remote, and go for walks.
That's super powerful. I appreciate you sharing your story. Would someone else like to answer this question?
I'll follow that up. I'm definitely a team of one. When I say we, it's just me doing different things. But I was told to say we, so that's what I've been doing. When it comes to self-care, I haven't learned what you've learned yet, Jonathan. I've just been going and crashing. So I'm going to try to apply some of those things. But I have seen it also come up in the community, like mental health requests. I've gotten recently book requests for books just affirming people to help with their self-care. My day-to-day is a little bit complicated. Honestly, I'm more new on the newer end. And I've started having to work back part-time and things like that. So it compresses the amount of time that I'm able to work on my project. So those things, I'd love to hear what some other people are doing for their day-to-day and managing everything and self-care.
I'll go next. As I imagine some of you all just saw, my day-to-day involves getting Zoom bombed by my cats because I have the privilege of working from home in this corner of my bedroom. So I'm in a unique position where I'm independently funded to work on this project as an OSI Baltimore Community Fellow. So over the past 18 months, I've really split my time between the community organizing, program, project development piece, and then one-to-one client work with a nonprofit that hosted me for the legal services side of my fellowship. And that looks like supporting LGBTQIA survivors of violence with various legal issues. It's not always 50-50, if I have to be in court that ends up being what I do that week. And deadlines come and go, but I have ADHD, so kind of being able to do a little bit of everything really works for me. So I feel really grateful to be able to do that. On the organizing side, it looks a lot like outreach and relationship building, and like reaching out to folks on like a national level who are building out programs or projects like ours that have figured out some of the issues that we're stuck on. It looks like researching funding streams, applying for grants, curriculum development, a lot of admin stuff that is not what I thought I would be doing when I went to law school. A lot of behind the scenes logistics in my sweatpants in my bedroom. And it's not just me, but I have one other person who is the co-founder of this project with me, my colleague, Danielle Kepeden. She is amazing. I would be lying on the floor crying more often than I do without her in my life. But we do have a really wonderful admin team of volunteers who help build out the project and do make the load a little lighter. But yeah, it's mostly the two of us trying to build this thing out. And yeah, it is a lot of work. Self-care is hard. I am also still trying to learn those lessons, Jonathan. Saying no is really difficult when you're trying to build something new. There's often the, I think, feeling of scarcity. Like, if I don't say no to this opportunity, when will the next one come? And so trusting yourself and trusting that the right opportunity will come at the right time instead of overextending is something that I am trying to internalize myself now. But yeah, doing less is definitely a challenge and an excellent self-care practice.
I also took some notes, but day to day, most days I'm up around 4:30 because Tendea, we're lucky enough to have a team, but none of our team is paid. And so we have volunteer-based organization, but we have really dedicated people. And so we have to operate before work and after work. So a lot of our stuff that's internal as far as development for the members of the organization happens 5 a.m. To about 7. And the outside external work as far as the programs, community cleanups, classes, those things happen in the evening after work between like 4 to 7. Now, so people that understand, so they listen. And so Tendea is complicated because we have these external things that we do. And for most people, they see the external things. But Tendea family, the internal part is a program in and of itself. It's like the best way to think about it is like a fraternity. It's like a community. We operate within a neighborhood in the community, but inside Tendea, there's brotherhoods, there's sisterhoods, there's family, that's community. And far as how's that connected to self-care, that community piece of having 7 other people that's dedicated to the same thing you're dedicated to, it helps a lot when you have people to talk to. Another thing we do is we have an optional prayer and meditation time per day. And I'm a prayer. I praise. That's what get me back centered, because I believe that all of the work that we do to solve problems on this human level is divine work. And sometimes you don't have all the evidence says, man, things ain't going to change, man. Look at the murder rate. Look at this, look at that. But for me, prayer helps me a lot because I recognize that, his power's at work, and I'm just doing my little piece, my little part to assist that. Book reading, I read about the work of the people that came before me, those being Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and those people in my bloodline that endured slavery. I read about that type of stuff because it puts what I'm going through at the time in perspective. It puts it in context that, like, my people are survivors, and the things that I'm going through that I think are so bad is not even comparable to what happened in the past. And not only that, I have a duty to them, and that connects me back. So even when I'm thinking like, man, I need to give this up, it gives me faith because I have, a Harriet Tubman or a Malcolm X or Ida B. Wells to look to. And I'm like, wow, they went through way more. and they stuck in here. And because they stuck in here, I'm able to be here today. So my day to day is, it's 4:30 to probably 4:30 in the morning. So tomorrow we boxing. So I'll put this out there just so we know, when we up at 4:30 and 5, is sometimes is either exercise or is book reading. So we read in Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. We read in Pedagogy of the Oppressed. We read in the autobiography of Malcolm X. We read in these books to help us get deeper into the work. And so I think I've figured out that from the onset of trying to do an organization like this, that I couldn't do it alone, that no matter how talented or skilled or smart I think I am, I wasn't going to be able to make headway or learn alone. So I had to learn to work with people and help them to understand the vision and what I'm going for, and what I'm trying to chase and what I'm trying to make happen within the community, and also help to mold people to be able to be inspired as I'm inspired, and be grounded as I'm grounded, even though they got different skills and talents that I don't have at all. So that the self-care relies on that community. I also take walks. I wanted to mention that I also take walks. Walks in nature. That thing, it re-energizes you. If you don't do it now, you should do it. Go walk in a park, and it's crazy what that could do to you, what some sunlight and walking can do, especially with the weather changing. But that's the day-to-day stuff and the self-care things. And for those people that's out there, that's part of organizations, keep talking to people about your vision, keep talking to people about what you do, and you may find some people that's willing to go along with you, and that's help a lot. That helps a lot with being successful at what you're trying to do. So those my little 2 cents.
Thank you so much. So I took notes. So no, I'm going to say no, which I've sort of learned, but it is certainly a hard quality. 5 minutes of quiet if you want to do meditation or prayer, and walking are all great things to do. And I appreciate you all for sharing. All right, so we're going to get into some of these challenges that you all experience. I know that some of you all have mentioned them. So challenges and barriers. Who wants to start?
Jonathan, ain't you off mute? I think I see you off mute. You are.
In a lot of groups, I'm always first one through the door. So the challenges and barriers are, like right now, it's twofold. There's the infrastructure barriers and challenges that just take time, and just really learning and being a practitioner of your craft, and learning the language, but also learning how technology is changing things right before our eyes. The other challenge is the people challenge, because often when we hire individuals, we hire individuals that no one's really asked them what they thought, and that takes a realization. I mean, it's you, if you ask someone what they thought, and it's kind of like they get stunned, or helping an individual find their voice. Not sometimes, we get individuals that work for us, and when you look at them, they tend to look down. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can express what you're doing, and you should feel confident in what you're doing. And so we try to put people in a position where they have to exercise their voice as well as their wisdom and expertise in what they're doing. So they drive confidence. So when they speak with their head lifted, the shoulders back, chest forward. And so it's really tackling those infrastructure and people issues, because we're just like, as young Black men, you got a voice. I don't care if no one told you couldn't exercise it. Well, here you're going to exercise it. And which resulted that we've had people that gone on and spoken give speaking engagements. We have put individuals in places where now the trainer has to train other individuals. In order to train other individuals, you have to speak with confidence. And in order to speak with confidence, you have to command the attention and respect of other individuals around you. And so we look at what we're doing as far as the people side of how do we produce better leaders in communities and better assets, and look at not people as just units, but as human beings. And we constantly tell people is if you speak with a Baltimore dialect, so what? But you be confident, because we use a term, we call it cultural bilingual. When you're at work, you speak one way. When you go home, you speak another way. It doesn't mean that you're code switching. You're just culturally bilingual. You can go between talking to engineers about RF frequency and all things tech and antennas and types of frequency, 2.5 gigahertz or whatever it is. But when you go home, you could talk about who is the latest in Baltimore hip hop. You can talk about crypto, and we create this world where there's no lines. We're just people and we're just human beings and we're just curious. So let's remain curious about each other as we move forward. The infrastructure piece over time, it will take care of itself. And so we look at, what we do as two parts. We spend more time on the people because they're the ones that's going to make this thing go when all else is done. And we want people, when they're ready to leave with Rowdy Orbit, they can go into the ecosystem wherever they decide to go and be a professional and speak with confidence and know that once they sit at the table, what comes out of your mouth matters, and be confident in that. Should I call on somebody?
Yes.
Come on, Elijah.
All right, you got me back. So, one of the major things with Tendea right now is two major, I guess, we'll say infrastructure barriers. Is that we operate in McElwee Park, but we don't have a headquarters in McElwee Park, and that causes some issues. So right now that it's getting warm, we outside all the time. But when in the cold months, it's hard. The UB Blake Center is great. We're grateful for them because they allow us to use space in the UB Blake Center during those cold months. But really, we want and need a headquarters inside McElwee Park so that we can directly be available and people know where to find us all the time. And second, tied with that a little bit, is we have all these members and they're absolutely dedicated. Some of them have been around since 2015, 2016, when Tendea started. But they all work jobs that they hate to be able to, not only do we not pay them, get this is how dedicated, and I'm grateful for them. We don't pay them and they donate to the organization to support all the activities that we're trying to do. So when we say we're going to do a grocery giveaway, we don't have a funding for a grocery giveaway, and we believe it needs to be done. All of us, including myself, we coming out of pocket to pay for that. Now that is right now, but we know in long term that's not sustainable, and it won't, and it stops us from having the impact that we could have. So it's the headquarters piece, the payroll piece, and then also it's the fact that we're so much on the ground, the back office stuff. We don't have the experts that's a part of the team that's able to pay so much as much attention to the back office stuff. Some people are completely wizards when it comes to that accounting and grant writing and things like that. We throw our hat in the ring for things, but we are outside. We are outside with it, and we in the neighborhoods and in the communities, and that causes us to, not have some of the large things that as larger organizations have, far as be able to show you, I don't know, down to the number, how many pieces of trash we picked up last Sunday. We have an estimate. We do better with that. We have an estimate, but Some people, man, I just saw some presentations. I'm like, wow, I don't know how you have the members to even record that data. So some of that back office stuff I would say is a barrier. But what I will say is that one of our things that keep me motivated is I do feel like I'm blessed to have a great team of people that really believe in what we're doing. And so everything that is a barrier, it's only a matter of time for us to get through those barriers and overcome those challenges. I truly believe that. So those are my 2 cents.
I could go. Just piggybacking a little bit off of what Elijah said, yeah, I think that sometimes for me, translating the hard work that we're doing into business work and numbers that grants can understand can be a little bit of a challenge. I think that one of my biggest barriers is also my biggest blessing. My project sort of went viral online, but keeping up with the momentum of that as a one-person team trying to grow can be a challenge. And also getting in the door to some places in the community. For instance, I'll spot a location, it's in a book desert, it's in a place where up to 300 children are sharing one book. Go in, talk to the business owner. And because of that, if a beauty supply store's relationship with the community, they don't see that as something that they'd want to be responsible for, I suppose, in a way, or not all of the community businesses are viewing the community in a way that would allow us to put something like that there. So I think getting them to understand that has been a little bit of a challenge. And yes, I guess kind of like a Ruby Slipper moment, or That's So Raven, where her eyes go really big, like I'm doing something I never thought I would be doing. And you have a flashback to 2 years ago before COVID when I was just a librarian or something like that. So all 3 of those things I think are my challenges.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. So Raven, how dare I? I think for me, like capacity, right? Like as an individual, one person, trying to do too much, as I've clearly already identified as a problem for me. But capacity within our network, because we are a group of volunteers, it's just a huge barrier for digital organizing. The people who need this the most, the community caregivers who are already taking care of their neighbors and the people in their lives who need help, to make sure that they're not interacting with the criminal legal system unnecessarily. The neighbors themselves are often in crisis, whether because that's, they're living with a mental health condition that causes them to be in crisis, whether it's being underpaid or exploited and constantly struggling to make ends meet and feeling like you're already, always in survival mode. Those are the people who are most invested in building out our network and making it happen. And they are also the most burnt out from being in survival mode and struggling to take care of themselves and get their needs met. So many of the folks in our network who show up with a fire in them wanting to build this become burdened by the task of just surviving and kind of come in and out. And so we have a lot of turnover with people who are very excited about the work and then need to step back. And a lot of what we've done, as an admin team of volunteers is, pausing and pivoting and redirecting and making sure that the folks in our network are getting taken care of. Which is, of course, what our mission is, but it has made launching more external programming at times challenging. We've had to delay this training series that we're doing because of crises faced by our core members. So I think finding creative ways to address unmet needs, recognizing our individual and collective capacity is drained, that's been a really large challenge. Also, I love to make things difficult for myself. So we are a grassroots mutual aid network, essentially. We don't have a fiscal sponsor, so applying for grants and really robustly funding and building capacity has been difficult. Our group has voted multiple times about what legal structure makes sense for us. And the feeling consistently has been that we really want to keep total autonomy and control so that our members can always be acting in alignment with their own values. And unfortunately, that means that we have to, operate on a smaller scale for now. But yes, sorry. Thinking about sustainable ways to build capacity that don't rely on nonprofit funding streams, and also like finding ways to access funding for nonprofits that don't challenge our integrity or values in some way. Because a lot of the grants for programs like ours require partnership with police. Like that's just like one of the, I think, #1 deal breakers right off the bat that we can't get on board with. So funding and capacity, I think, are our biggest challenges.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Before we go, can everyone put in their Instagram and Twitter? Because I find everyone amazing that's on here, and I want to follow them because I know I'm gonna learn something from them.
Thank you, Jonathan. I was certainly going to encourage you all to share your information, especially since my next question for you is, we have so many people on this call, right? And you all have stated your challenges, and again, drawing from my experience, I'm so glad that you all didn't lead with like capital, like I need money. We know that you need money, but we also understand that like resources are great. Like someone mentioned, having a team of people that could do like back office stuff, right? So maybe we have some volunteers on this call that are great at accounting. Maybe we have someone on this call that has space. Maybe we have someone on this call that could find some additional funding for EV that isn't directly tied to law enforcement, right? So I'm gonna spend this time or give you all the opportunity to just sort of like shout out some of the things that some of the members could like services or experiences that maybe they have that would be great for your organizations. Yeah. And if you don't start, I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna draw from my teacher experience and call people out.
I'm ready for this one
Okay.
because
Yeah.
got a huge room full of donated books. And United Way is helping us put together our book sorting event. We always need more book donations. So I have an Amazon wish list, or if anyone can run a local book drive, always really happy to get them. We're gonna have a public bookcase launching at a mental health facility soon in Park Heights. So there's some specific things that we're looking for that are on those Amazon lists. And always just looking for volunteers. So please reach out to me on Instagram or at Storybook Maze. I'll put my email and stuff in the chat.
And share the Amazon list.
Yes.
Okay. Someone else want to hop or answer the question?
Yeah, I would just build on what I was saying. What was saying earlier is that I think I might be able to speak for everybody, but if you have a skill that you do a job that could be used for a young organization that you believe in, so that type of thing. So accounting and bookkeeping and data collection. Just if you got ways to help build capacity and help offer your skills for pro bono or low rate, because we can't afford you, but we would if we could, So if you could, if anybody has a skill or something that'll be able to help young organizations get to the next level or be sustainable, what we're going for. So.
Jonathan, UV.
So when to go last.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can go if you'd rather be
Yeah, go ahead.
last, but all right, sure. So there's a few things in the chat I want to respond to. But ways to be supporting our network. If you're based in Baltimore, you can sign up to join the Neighbor Network, whether you're a LGBTQA community member, an ally, a service provider, working with the community. That's one way to get connected. We have an option for folks who want to do that sort of like, I wouldn't necessarily say skilled volunteer work, but there's a way for you to sign up in our network to offer whatever it is that you have to offer by the neighborhoods that you live in or neighborhoods that you work in, whether that's like showing up for people when they're having a mental health crisis, going for walks with someone, doing wellness checks, helping with grocery runs, pet sitting, childcare, things like that. We have this database of folks who are offering those ways of caring for their neighbors. That's one way you can get plugged in. If you're joining us, I'm sorry, there's a cat. Outside of Baltimore City, you can sign up for our mailing list to hear about the trainings and events that we have coming up. This weekend, we had our first session of our spring community safety training series, which was a 3-hour self-defense and bystander intervention workshop. And over the next 2 weekends, we'll have more training. So for now, if you are interested in supporting our network, I'll drop the link in the chat. You can purchase sliding scale donation-based tickets via Eventbrite for those trainings and attend to learn your skills and be able to be more supportive to your neighbors when they need the help. And in a few weeks, we will be launching our Pride Month fundraiser. So I will share that link with you all at United Way soon once it is live. It's a t-shirt fundraiser, so you can get a cool shirt to show off how much you care about community care. And that will be funding our fall community safety training series. So we're very excited about that.
Nice, nice. For us, we want people to stay in action around policy and legislation. So I think that's vitally important, because once we get over the digital divide, we have to really think about digital poverty, which is on the horizon, and it's very, very real. For us, it's also utilizing individuals' expertise on how do we take people from where they are now to potentially to build a pipeline, not only in the career labor pool, but also potentially people going to college, because we are able to spark individuals' interest in how do I take a college course, but I don't know how to get there. And it's not something that, that we're very well astute at, and we'd have to do a ton of research to put that together to build that pipeline, because we tend to spark a lot of individuals' curiosity. And so we want to be able to continue to kind of feed that, to help build not just a better individual, but to just be well-rounded, to be a better instrument for their family and in their sphere that's around them. But also, we also always need help around strategy and what we're doing. And what does that mean for the larger impact around economics? And how do we start to measure that? Around hope, how do we start to measure that? And just little things like giving an individual voice. I mean, how does that become a metric? How do you start to study that? What does that look like? How do we develop white papers around that? And so for us, it's really just taking what we're doing and just being able to amplify it and just build this box, because our goal is to, how do we take this to every more urban and suburban communities around the country that want to utilize this.
Thank you all for sharing. I hope you all dropped information in the chat box so that people can connect with you all. And so my last question for you all is one that should bring you joy. And my last question for you all is, what are you most proud of? Go ahead, Elijah. You look like you're ready.
What I'm most proud of is the impact we having on youth specifically, not just in McElwee Park or down the hill, but around Baltimore City. And I know that because, they DM us, they hit us up, because for those that follow us on Instagram, one thing I will say we do well is Instagram, like marketing or social media marketing, because that's where we at right now. That's where the kids at. They on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. So we make sure that we're on that device when they scrolling. So the impact, the mental impact we're having on people, not just in my age group, but a lot younger, that are saying like, yo, that's what's really cool. What's really cool is people that's in their community, not doing something to destroy their community or not being proud of not caring about their community. But what's really cool is they over there willing to die for the community and willing to live for the community and doing everything they can do to improve the community. So this when we reframe what's cool in kids' mind, that makes me really proud. But also just the impact we have in the neighborhood in which we work, where people are looking to us and we're able to help with real issues that people are having. Because a lot of times nonprofits, we guesstimate the issues that the community is having, and we impose on them our solutions to problems that they may or may not even have. But when we have people that's like, y'all been around here a long time now, and I trust y'all, so I'm gonna tell you the situation I got going on with my little brother. I'm gonna tell you the situation with my mother that's struggling with drug addiction, and I need your assistance with that situation. I'm proud when we're able to, in real life, person to person, help someone that's going through a situation once they're vulnerable enough and trust our organization enough to tell us and make us aware of what they're going through. So I'm most proud that we're actually building those critical relationships with community members, and being able to really be able to speak to the needs and connect people to the needs that they actually have, because they trust us and know us, and we got real relationships with them. So that's my proudest thing, that the hood love us. Excuse me, I don't know if that's too professional for the panel. But
It's okay if you get in the hood. We understand that. Someone else, or should I call you out?
I can piggyback off of that as well. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do online and the connections we've been able to make. We're able to talk to people directly in the community through Instagram or through TikTok and fundraise. And I've built relationships with like Valentino, something I would think never would have anything to do with books in Baltimore, but we worked with a local bookstore, Greedy Reads, and they made a donation through that type of sponsorship. So I'm really proud of that. And some book publishers too, and independent authors have reached out and sent their books over through social media. But also some of the unexpected impact we've had that I didn't plan for. So our free public book shows are being painted by some girls, and middle school girls in Baltimore. And the teacher shared with us that the student was never interested in doing artwork until my project came along. So her being able to design it and know it's going to be out there on the streets of Baltimore inspired her. And she never saw her that interested in it before. So that's not something I set out to do, but having unexpected impacts is something that I'm really proud of too.
That's awesome. Okay, it's always Evie and Jonathan.
I guess I'll go. The one thing that we kind of stumbled upon is that we've become this bridge. And what I mean by become this bridge, for some people, it's hope. Some people, sovereignty. And the coolest part is when I stand back and I look at members on the team that have been with us, I'm like, you sound differently. And it's we get some people who just at the beginning, they don't talk. And then when they do talk and they exercise a voice, it's like, man, you sound like you sound like an expert. And it's just, it blows my mind at times when I find myself at times when they're having a group discussion and they're having this intellectual technical debate on how to build. I'll slowly step away and fade into the shadows and just literally just disappear. And when I come back, it's done. And that's the coolest thing, watching them, the Black and brown boys, youth, and hopefully women, soon ladies, that they can do this work and they belong. It's just not, it's not just someone else's pipe dreams, it's theirs. And that's the coolest part when you look at them like, It's like you sound differently. You just smile and just like, okay, all right. That's the coolest part.
Sort of scaffolding off of that, I think everyone maybe said something to this effect, but seeing the impact of what we're doing, like how people have benefited, is of course what I'm proudest to notice. A number of our members have been in crisis, and instead of moving away from connection and community because of fear or trauma, knowing that we're a safe place to land and that they're able to come back to us, and seeing that deepening trust in community, that makes me feel proud, because that's not something you can control. You can try your best to be a good peer, a good source of support for someone when they're in need, but it's ultimately up to the other person to choose what their needs are. I'm also maybe this is unprofessional of me, but proud of myself for not giving up. We're dreaming of something that there isn't really a roadmap for, or, if there are roadmaps, they fork in all these different directions. And how do you follow that? It's been hard work as a team of 2, and within our admin team, we're trying to create a work culture that genuinely embodies the values of our network on every level. And that is also hard work. Consensus-based decision-making takes a lot of time and conversation, so much processing. I'm also really excited about this training series, y'all. It's taken a year for it to finally come together. And we've had to it's her dinner time, so she's being extra cute. Love to see it crystallize. I'm so excited about it. It's been really just so rewarding to see such robust interest and support from our community, because these skills are so needed. People really want to be able to show up for each other, particularly when we're reminded that, the government isn't here to protect us from COVID. We got to look out for each other. So on that note, I'm going to move my cat. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I do hope that you all are proud of yourselves for this work that you're doing. I know it's extremely hard, and you show up and show out every single day. And for that, I'm grateful, and your community is grateful. So thank you. And as we wrap up, I want to thank all of you all for sharing your stories with us tonight and being extremely open and honest with us. I think it really helped make for a very robust conversation, and I appreciate that. Your commitment and candidness tonight was so important, and we look forward to more conversations like this. So thank you all.
Hey, thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. This has been such a delight.
Jennifer, we'll tell Karen how great of a job you did.
We're going to actually turn it over again to Ashley and Kelly to help us talk about next steps and how to take action on all of these great things we've heard. We're not done yet.
Yes.
Kelly and Ashley, can you
First
jump
thing
in?
I need to take action on is figure out how to download and use TikTok so I can follow you all. I guess that shows my age a little bit. But thank you, Jennifer, for moderating our conversation. And to all the panelists, Araba, Evie, Jonathan, Elijah, thank you so much for generously sharing your experiences and your time tonight, and really inviting us all to join you and support your visions. Tonight's spotlight session and the action projects that will follow are a part of our larger vision to create opportunities for ELU members to assist their community and make a long-term impact. We hope that you guys are all inspired by what you heard tonight. Please, let's all take action and join our speakers at upcoming events in June. Our panelists are going to offer a range of ways you can get involved. The important thing is to take the next step that aligns with your own visions and sets you on a path to explore new ways to work on solutions with those who are committed to make our region better. And I think we're going to throw up some links in the chat or information you can get through emails to sign up.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I did also want to say, in addition to the projects that we'll be doing with all the panelists that are here tonight, ELU does have another event coming up. It is on the screen on Sunday for Hands on Hit. It's not a part of this conference, but it'll be our next in-person event. So please come get to know us. We have some ELU members here tonight. I know I saw Noah, Ashley, Kyle, a few others. So please come join us. We're going to do 45 minutes of workout, then we're going to clean up in Canton, and then we're going to do happy hour because that's what we do. So again, welcome to ELU for all of those of you who are new, and thank you for coming out tonight. Everyone have a good night.